Hello, I'm Tony Ko, the host of TalkIT Global. LLMs based on generative AI are great at producing text, but do they truly understand your company's terminology and definitions? That's why Ontology has been gaining attention. Today, Sunyoung Kim from Encore will explain how it differs from metadata and why it matters in the AI era. Metadata and ontology, aren't they basically similar? Could you clarify the difference?
Metadata is data about data, information that describes the data. For example, fields like name, phone number, and email.
Attributes like when it was created are metadata.
Or attributes like when it was created are metadata. The actual values, like a person's name, are the data itself. Metadata is what describes and represents that data.
So what improves when structured data has metadata attached?
Even when multiple agents/systems are involved, having standards reduces terminology confusion and makes integration easier. You get consistency, and by feeding structural information into AI, you can build reliable, trustworthy data more quickly and more stably.
So we should get metadata right before ontology.
Exactly. In the past, most efforts focused on structured data. Now there's growing demand to collect and manage metadata for semi-structured and unstructured data as well, together and in an integrated way. We're also doing real-world work to collect metadata for semi-structured and unstructured data and attach it for integrated management.
Then if metadata is well established, building ontology becomes easier. If you try to build it without that foundation, you may just make things unnecessarily complicated.
Ontology didn't appear out of nowhere. It traces back to Aristotle's ontology in ancient Greece. Questions like, what common characteristics do things have, and how should we classify them? For example, animals versus plants. The most widely used modern definition comes from Tom Gruber in the early 1990s, an explicit specification of a shared conceptualization. It existed mostly as theory for a long time, but as computing power improved, and through the big data and machine learning era, use increased. Recently, with GPS and better solutions, it's resurfaced as a major focus again.
If metadata is about attributes and values, is ontology about relationships and meaning between data?
Exactly. Ontology is like a map that defines concepts and relationships in a way both humans and computers can understand.
Metadata mostly describes items like customer, but it doesn't explicitly represent relationships. Ontology, on the other hand, structures relationships, like how VIP customer relates to other concepts, so AI can recognize them.
Many AI applications, locally as well, are LLM-based and similarity-driven. By design, they find what's most similar, not necessarily what is correct. That's why approaches like vector databases and RAG became popular.
But hallucinations still keep happening.
A further improvement is to attach a fact-based graph database that incorporates ontology concepts, so performance and accuracy improve.
These days, AI reasons internally before answering. If ontology supports it well, will the reasoning be better?
Yes. In the past, the focus was on speeding up the process of finding answers and reducing hallucinations. Now it's evolving toward reasoning that understands context, so it can deliver what the user truly wants.
Why does GraphDB always come up whenever people talk about ontology?
There are multiple ways to implement ontology, but traditional RDBMS has limits. To reach the data you want, you often need many joins, making the journey long. The longer it gets, the more likely you'll drift off course. It's less intuitive and offers limited flexibility, but simply moving an RDBMS schema into a GraphDB as-is doesn't help. It just becomes the same thing in a different system. You need to understand the real business workflow and the existing RDBMS structure, then redesign the graph modeling accordingly. That's why it usually requires experts, people with strong domain experience, deep data understanding, and perspectives on data flow, governance, and business optimization, at least for now.
We used VectorDB in RAG because it's easy for AI to work with. If we model ontology with GraphDB, does AI understand it more easily too?
Yes. Graph databases are also ultimately used for AI, so you must feed it in a way AI can consume. If you tell AI to read the raw graph as is, it can get confused. How you provide it becomes a key know-how.
For companies to do AI properly, a fact-based ontology seems essential, not optional.
Exactly. The realistic goal is to move from similarity-based answers towards something closer to facts by attaching a fact-based layer.
What kinds of skills will people need for this?
Surprisingly, beyond engineering, humanities-style thinking may be even more important. Technology can be handled to some extent by AI itself, but first you need conceptual clarity. What philosophy guides the direction? Drawing the big picture and understanding meaning requires humanities-style thinking. It may start more from philosophy than from business or economics, and then become more empirical over time.
I recently read an easy book about the history of philosophy, and it felt very similar to how AI has developed. Lastly, your likes and subscriptions greatly empower us to continue creating content. Thank you for your support.